Alright, today we're going to do weekly challenge number 8. What they've provided us this week is they've provided us a data set that contains point of sale records. And so what I mean by that is, if you look here and if you run it, if you look here, what they have is a list of tickets as well as what was purchased on the tickets, and also the date, member ID, and the price. And so that's what I mean by point of sale data. And so with this data, they want you to kind of take a look at a certain category of meals to see if there's any potential there to create sort of a new meal deal, if you will. So a little bit more specific, if you look at the objective, the premise of this challenge is, hey, look, we're thinking about creating a new meal deal for our menu, and we want to study the potential impact on our transactions. Please look at the total number of tickets sold since June 2013, as well as the percentage of that total number that include the following categories: people who buy at least a side and a drink, and pizza or burger. Okay, so that's the objective here. And some of the hints they give you is, don't forget to join using the lookup table. So I'll zoom out a little bit. Don't forget to join using the lookup table, as well as filter by date. So fortunately for us, they gave us this additional data dictionary, if you will, of all the different items that they sell and their broad category. And this is important because, at the end of the day, we don't necessarily care about what kind of burger they bought for this challenge, nor do we care about the pizza that they get. So even had this not been there, that would have been the intuitive next step, going through here and sort of parsing through all the broad categories of what these items are. But because, for the context of what we're doing, they kind of helped us out a lot and gave us the categories here, right here. Although I would argue, if the point is to make it easy for us to kind of focus on the other stuff, they could have just built it into the database right away. But I don't know. It's a small step to join them together. So, okay. So first thing we want to do is we want to bring these two together, and to do that, you want to obviously use a join tool. So we do this. We'll connect them to. Okay. We're going to connect by, if you look at both fields, really what we want to match on, and the unique value here is the description field, and both of them have it. So we'll do that. Description. Oops. Description. Okay. From here, as a reminder, workflow development is really kind of a bit of an art. There really is no right or wrong way per se. There might be arguments for efficiencies. So, as I continue forward, if you're sitting there and thinking, I would have done this or that, it probably would have been correct as well. But usually what I like to do here is, especially at the beginning, when you're processing things, I like to try to get rid of as much fat as possible. And so what I mean by that is, I already have it joined, so let's run it, okay? It's going to run, and we're going to see it's joined. If you look at the results window right here, let me bring this up a little bit. Okay, if you look at the results window, we now have the burger description as well as the type. The question I propose is, do I really need all these items? And the answer to that is no. Looking back at the problem, we just want to know how much of each type of item was sold, as well as how many tickets were sold. So to that point, I'm going to start cutting fat here. And what I mean by that is, I have no need for member ID. Now that I have it merged, I don't really care about the description of the item. It's useless. It's too much information. More to the point, we have the type, which captures what we truly want, and then price also is useless to us. So right off the bat, I'm going to get rid of member ID, description from the other data set, as well as the price. Now I need the date because they also added this little kink saying that we're only interested in things beyond June 2013. So I'm going to keep it that way. And what I'm going to also do, because I noticed here all the types are strings, I'm going to also change date to a date format. Now, sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't work. Or sometimes strings are valid types for dates. Kind of, but I think as a base minimum, you should set things to their correct data type if you plan on using them. And so let me kind of re-explain myself. So sometimes when you keep dates as strings, you can do calculations on them and it might work out. But for sure, if you change it to a date value and you do filters, it's gonna for sure work out. So that's all I meant. That, like, you know, as good practice, sometimes if you know what you're doing ahead of times, you might want to change the key fields to the right types. The converse of that is, of course, you don't also want to waste too much of your time to change everything to the right types, because if it's not being calculated on, it might be kind of wasting your time. And then now you can kind of talk about like the efficiency of storing everything in the right type, because if you make everything a string, it could make the data set really big. But anyways, this is now like kind of a digression. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the date. I'm going to convert the date to date. I'm going to cut out some fat, and I'm going to run it again. So that output now is these three fields, and these three fields is really all we need to do. Okay. So once again, going back to efficient workflow design, you want to cut off as much excess weight as possible so that the processing is quick. So to that point, I'm going to now filter right away from the beginning the values we need. Okay, because we don't need all these dates. We need dates. So we'll go to dates equal to or greater than June, whatever the end of June is. I think the value here is 2013. Yep, 2013. June is 6/01. Okay, and then it populates, and we make sure that, okay, as long as it's June 1st or beyond. Okay. Now, one thing I will note here is, since I've done this already, I know for a fact that their solution is kind of weird. What I mean by that is, you know, depending on how you interpret what this means, number of tickets since June 2013, their solution is only achieved when you set it to July. I don't know why. Sometimes it's a hiccup. You know, a lot of these are user submitted, so it's not really rare to see like these weird answer hiccups. But in case you're following, in case you're doing it yourself, just know that depending on how you interpret tickets since June, you may or may not get the right answer. And me, myself, what I discovered was, for some reason, I have to filter off of July to get the right answer. So I'm going to filter off that. Now I have the relevant items that I want. So the next part is to create a dummy value. The reason I'm going to create a dummy value is because I already know ahead of time that I'm going to do a cross-tab transformation, and based on what I expect out of that, I need some one values. If it doesn't make sense now, it might make more sense as I do it later on. But it's just, the primary driver is, it's because I know what I'm working towards, which is why I create this value. So we'll call it dummy, give it 1, we'll even give it a int value, run that again. So here you go, dummy value. Now everything has a 1. This in itself is not really important to me. This is not important to me. It's the next step that really gives it value. So what I mean by that is, now I'm going to crosstab it. I'm going to crosstab it because it's going to allow me to filter correctly. Like, you could run a series of filters. You absolutely could. Like I said, workflow design is an art. You can create all sorts of different ways to get the right answer. But this is just kind of being kind of sneaky about it. So I'm going to crosstab it. I'm going to change the headers to the type. I'm going to give the value dummy values, and I'm going to sum it up, because in theory there should not be more than one value here, but in theory the same ticket could have the same more than one of the types. So I want to sum it, and then I will group it by tickets, because I want to know the values by ticket. If I don't do this, it's just going to get like meshed all together. It's useless to me. So I'll run that. Okay, and this is my output. If you look here, now this has a lot of value. Why does this have a lot of value? Because this now will allow me to very efficiently, within 4 steps, tell you which meals fall under your criteria. Okay, so now's the time to filter out really the items that we want, and then start counting. So we're gonna do a filter. Okay, so right here. So how do we filter for our conditions? Our conditions are, at minimum, side and a drink. Okay, so let's do that first. Let's write a condition for side and a drink. Okay, so here's a little trick. I need to make sure that at least there's a value here, side or a drink. As you see here, if they didn't buy an item, it'll be nulled out. Okay, so because these are all string values, I'm going to do a little cheeky trick, and I'm just going to add them. Here, I'll show you why it works. Okay, because when you add strings that are null values, as long as one string is a null value, the whole thing will be evaluated as a null value. Okay, so let me do here. So side plus drink. Okay, and we'll call this results. Okay, I'll show you what I mean by that. And I don't know if that's going to trigger if it's not bracketed. Okay, So if I ran this using this theory, if I add two strings together, as long as one of them is a null value, the entire thing will be a null value. So we're looking at sides and drinks. So let's look at row number 3, okay? Row number 3, that person bought a drink, did not buy a side. Therefore, the results is a null. Conversely, row number 2, person bought a drink, person bought a side, the results is a value, okay? So that's just a trick to kind of just make sure one field is filled versus the other. And you can do it all along as many string fields as you want. And so I'm going to take this nifty little trick and I'm going to apply it to my filter right here. So I'm going to do, not string, drink plus, what was the condition? Drink plus side. So at least a drink plus side. So I'm going to run that, okay? I'm going to run that, and so it at least, so this is all the true values. So everything here at least ordered a side and a drink, okay? And here's what we can do to tell. We're going to filter it. Filter it. We'll say is null. Okay, apply. There are no values in here that has no drinks. Okay, so we're good on that mark. So side and drink. So we're going to filter on this one. Is null. Okay, apply. Same case. People here. Nobody here had no drinks. Okay, so in this data set, everyone here has at least drink and a side, okay? Or cumulatively, they have drink and a side. There's no difference, okay? Or there's no different. One does not have null, and the other one does not have a null, and the other one does. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. So so you do that, okay? So you do that, and so now you got to apply the second part of the ask, which is, hey, help me find somebody, in addition to drink and a side, find someone who bought a pizza or a burger, okay? So all we have to do is we just modify our filter, okay? So we're going to do this, we're going to add that because that's a condition on its own, although honestly adding the brackets don't really matter. I like to do it just for readability, you know, so we add the AND operator. And then we're going to do this, and we're going to say not only do they have to have at least both of them, they can have pizza. Oh, no. Is not null, pizza, or is null. Was it pizza and burger? Yeah, burger. And in theory, this should work. Okay. Okay, so let me read this out back to you again. So in theory, this is how it should work. So the first part I covered already. We added an AND operator, which is just adding a different condition, an additional condition to your filter, and it's saying exclamation mark is the operator in Alteryx for negative. So first I'm saying, hey, look for anything that has a null value in the pizza column, but negative it. So essentially saying, hey, either this person has a value in pizza, or this is the or operator, or burger, but it doesn't have to be both. It's one or the other because the ask is pizza or burger, okay? And so that's how you translate that ask to that. And so once again, let's check, you know, if the logic makes sense. So we already know that drink and sides work. Let's check if it's pizza or burger. So we go to pizza, we filter to a null value, all right? So here's a bunch of sales that we just filtered out with no pizza. Not a problem, because if they don't have pizza, they should at least have a burger. So let's filter this down. Filter by ascending, so it'll be lowest to highest. And so if there are any null values, they should be at the top, and we see that, nope, there are no null values for burgers. So that is a good QA check saying that, okay, our logic expression worked, because now we're getting one or the other. And because this way works, I'm going to assume that the other way works as well. Okay, so now that we have that, we're essentially done, really. Actually, you don't have, and also a little tidbit, when you add filters to the results window, it's not permanent, so whatever you add here, just click away and go back and it reverts back to the normal. So yeah, we're done essentially here. Now we just need to do the calculations. We have a list of tickets that ordered this specific meal, and then we also have the total, so let's get those numbers. So to sum things, you just add it up. So we use the sum tool. We are gonna count the distinct non-null by reason of what we did here. These should all be neutral values already, but I don't know, if you want, just count distinct non-nulls. That will guarantee that you'll get those values. Okay. So this will count. What will count? Total meals purchased. Okay. And the next one is we need to actually find also the total meals purchased after this date. In which case, now it really truly. So I'm gonna just pull it from here. Really, you can pull it from any one of these two. You probably can't pull it from here because you group it. Any one of these two you could pull, as long as it's past the date filter. So I'm gonna pull the date. I'm gonna do count by distinct non-null. And the reason why this one is actually important is because the data is coming in as a duplicate already. Not duplicate, but this is still not parsed through correctly. Like this part of the data flow still has all the tickets and all the items on the ticket labeled separately. Like you look here, 5, 6, 7, it's all the same ticket, and we don't want to count these tickets over and over again. So that's why this part actually, it is important for you to choose the right action. And we'll call this total tickets. Okay. We'll run both of them and review what our answers are. So this one, the output is 15497. This one is 10964. Let's look at the solution to kind of check 15497, 10964. So we're there. We're there. And just kind of a throwback to what I was saying earlier. If you see here, my filter set on July and beyond, when the prompt is saying June and beyond. Once again, I think it's just a user error, not a big deal. But just keep that in mind if you're doing this and you're like, I don't know why my numbers aren't matching. Sometimes it's just user error. It happens. It's a community effort. It's not necessarily like a professional education platform per se. So just keep that in mind when you're doing these weekly challenges. So now that we got the two values, we just need to bring it together. So I'm going to use, in this case, an append tool. I'm going to use it. I don't really care which one's the target, which one's the source. In itself, the append tool, it is important to know that difference. In this case, it doesn't, because we're doing a one-to-one join. So honestly, it doesn't matter what goes where. But just keep that in mind that depending on what you're doing, target and source does matter. And in general, the append tool, what it does is it takes data from one source and it applies it completely to the other one. So it just appends it onto the end one by one. So. But this is not an append tool tutorial in any means, so I'm not going to stick to it. So append it. You both have it now. Add some formulas right here. We'll call this %. Okay, %. Pretty simple. You just do meals, total meals. Total meals divided by total tickets. Okay. The value is going to be this huge decimal. Because we know that it's in the percentages, we'll multiply by 100 to get a nicer number, 70 point blah 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 blah. I'm going to change this to a fixed decimal. Precision 19, scale is just 1 decimal point. Run it, and this is my answer. So 70.7% of our sales in beyond June, if you will, accounted for this potential meal idea that we're thinking about. And if we look at the answer, it is also 70.7, same numbers, same answers, voila. Okay.